Hey everyone, Hunter here again at Weather on the Go. Welcome back to Weather on the Go weather forecast. We're going to be talking about more wintry weather as we go into late February, but especially early March. I think winter's last gasp has yet to come through, and we could have some colder air in there as well. Now, we are getting closer to severe weather season, so that is something we'll also have to watch as we go into late February and early March with our bigger storm systems that we do tend to see. So if you are new here to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. We are less than 500 subscribers away from 129,000. You want to help me get there? Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We'll keep you updated with the latest accurate and reliable weather forecasts here on YouTube. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you do find it informative, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I truly do appreciate it. So let's look at our temperature trends here for the weekend, because we're actually seeing some pretty decent temperatures here across the eastern United States. Even though we see colder anomalies, our temperatures are starting to warm up all across the lower 48 here. And you notice that in a big way as you step out the door this weekend. And you can see here in the central U.S., here are your high temperatures expected this Saturday afternoon, February 22nd. A lot of 20s and 30s out here, but this is much warmer than we saw over the past few days, certainly, where we had single digits and teens for highs. We're taking a nice jump in our numbers as we go into this afternoon, even seeing some 60s starting to appear down here into southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle. And that is a sign of things to come. And as we go into your Sunday, we're going to take another leap northward with our warmer temperatures. This time, maybe some 60s showing up as far north as Nebraska, Kansas, and South Dakota, with widespread 30s and some 40s up here into parts of the Midwest and the western Great Lakes. Now, we look here at the western U.S., warm down here in California, especially Southern California and Arizona. So San Diego, Los Angeles over there to Phoenix, widespread mid and even upper 70s, couple 80s possible there this afternoon. But notice Montana, an area that has seen wind chills the 50, 60 degrees below zero just a week or so ago. We're seeing highs this afternoon well into the 30s, which is above freezing, by the way, and near 40 degrees. And we look at tomorrow's highs, we're up near 50 in parts of eastern Montana. Again, the same areas that saw 50 to 60 degrees below zero wind chills a week ago. We're already reversing that. We're seeing 50-degree highs tomorrow afternoon. Looking here at the east, we are colder up into interior sections of the Northeast. Denser snowpack on the ground across Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. We'll hold our temperatures mostly below freezing up here into the middle and upper 20s. 30s across most of the Ohio Valley toward the mid-Atlantic, even a few 40s sprinkled in there toward the Delmarva, and then 50s, 60s here this afternoon across the Southeast. And if that's not good enough, we're going to warm up a little bit more as we go into Sunday here with more 70s for Florida and near 30 into areas with the denser snowpack across the interior parts of New England and the Northeast as we go into Sunday. Let's look at the precipitation we expect this weekend, because it looks quiet here as we go through the day. We do have some moisture in the Pacific Northwest, particularly Washington State, and some moisture in coastal Texas and Louisiana. That will be in the form of rain. Notice as we go into overnight tonight, bigger storm system moving in across the Pacific Northwest that will bring us widespread rains and a fire hose of moisture, quite certainly, across this region of Washington State, Oregon, and Northern California. Heavier snows further north into the Cascades in Washington State, but especially British Columbia there. And then we're watching some rumbles of thunder with some showers across portions of the Houston area, Galveston, Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans as we go into overnight tonight. That'll continue through the day there on Sunday. Heavy rainfall, a day to stay indoors and watch some movies down here into the southern parishes of Louisiana, into Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, even down here into Gulfport, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. Very rainy weather as we go into Sunday morning. A lot of moisture continuing across the Pacific Northwest here as well, and a lot of this is rainfall, but the higher elevations of Idaho, western Montana getting several feet of snow as we go into the day on Sunday, and that'll just continue into the Monday morning time frame there as well. As far as severe weather is concerned this weekend, not looking at a concern for severe weather. The light green areas you see on this map here across the Pacific Northwest and near the Gulf Coast of Texas and Louisiana, these are general garden variety type storms. So yes, you could have some heavy rain, maybe some pea-sized hail or a 30-40 mile per hour wind gust, but no severe criteria thunderstorms today and none tomorrow either. This is as you go into Sunday, and notice we just have a general thunderstorm risk for southern and coastal Louisiana there, so we'll be keeping an eye on some heavy heavy rain from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, and all the way westward to Galveston and Houston as we go into Sunday. Looking at the rainfall, that's really the only game in town here. We just have some heavy rain there in the Pacific Northwest, as well as heavy snow, and then heavy rains across portions of the Gulf Coast here, coastal Texas, Louisiana, and into southern Mississippi as we go through Monday morning. Let's look here first at the Pacific Northwest. You can see rainfall amounts here, 2 to 4 inches in most accounts from Washington State in the western part of the state, western Oregon, northwestern California, so Seattle, Portland, Eugene, and Medford, all the way down to northwest California, seeing again widespread 1 to 4 inches worth of rain there. And then looking at the snowfall, we're going to see some heavy snow into Idaho, western Montana there in the very high elevations of western Montana, and then into western Wyoming. We could be seeing over 100 inches of snow here, especially into western Montana as we go through Monday morning, just over the next 48 hours. Now let's look at the rainfall here. Some heavier rain for New Orleans, around 2 to 3 inches there, 2 to 3 inches of rain into Lake Charles and Baton Rouge, a little bit further to the north up there towards Shreveport and Monroe, Louisiana, maybe a little bit to dampen the ground, not much there. Jackson, Mississippi, as much as a 1/4 inch of rain. Houston into the Galveston area, back toward Corpus Christi, you could see anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of rain as we go through your Monday morning time frame. Now let's look at the big picture. Let's zoom it out here and show you what we have to deal with as we go into next week. This is the last week of February, Monday, February 24th through Friday, February 28th. We have a ridge across the western U.S., and when you have a ridge in the orange here, this typically promotes warmer temperatures than normal. When you have a trough, this typically creates cooler weather, but also some active weather. Notice we have a trough here in the Northeast Pacific. Over top of the ridge is where the storm track will be, so we're going to see storms moving up and over top of that ridge and then splashing down here into the eastern United States. But let's first look at our temperature anomalies, because I think next week we take another significant jump in the right direction. If you're liking warmer temperatures and you're sick of this cold, we're definitely going to be seeing some great weather out there for you across the United States and even southern Canada as well going into next week. Now, there will still be some cool periods out there, but we are going to see more warmer temperatures than colder temperatures as we go into next week. And this will do a number on our snowpack, okay? We have a little bit of snow on the ground across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, a lot of snow into interior sections of the Northeast. The upper Great Lakes here have been slammed with some lake effect snow recently over the past 1 to 2 months. Still a lot of snow on the ground there in areas like Michigan, northwest Pennsylvania, western New York, and then obviously the mountain snow out west. Watch the middle of the country, okay? As we go through the weekend, just through Sunday and into Monday, notice we melt a couple inches of snow here in the Central Plains, up there towards Chicago, and then as we go into next week, watch that snowpack just completely dwindle away, likely seeing no snow on the ground in much of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or Mid-Atlantic. By the end of February, all the snow we have on the ground at this point would be the upper Great Lakes, interior sections of the Northeast, and the mountain ranges out west. And this is actually going to help our temperatures warm up as we transition into the new month of March. No snowpack on the ground, temperatures warm up very quickly. Snowpack on the ground, we're going to see temperatures stay a little bit cooler, so that is something to keep in mind. Now let's look here at our precipitation anomalies going into the last week there of February. Again, this is Monday, February 24th through Friday, February 28th. This tends to be drier. We're downwind of the ridge. You're not going to see a lot of moisture unless you're very far underneath the ridge here, like southern Florida and down toward Cuba. We're going to see a lot of rainfall down here, and then more of an active storm track over top of that ridge for southern Canada and the far northern tier of the United States. So here again is the positioning of that ridge. This trough in the Northeast Pacific is going to promote storm systems north and east into British Columbia. That's why we're going to see a lot of heavy snow here and up into Yukon and coastal Alaska over the next week or so. And then that will tend to have a tendency to drop southeast towards the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes in the Northeast here, and that could give us an active weather pattern toward the Great Lakes region. Whereas if you're downwind of the ridge here into the deep south, the Gulf Coast states in the southeast, we're going to see drier weather just because that moisture either gets trapped to the north or trapped very far to the south, like in southern Florida or Cuba. So that is what we're seeing next week. Let's look at the European model. This does a very good job, I think, of depicting what our weather pattern will look like going into next week. Here's Monday, February 24th. Clipper system bringing some rain and or snow showers to southeastern Canada, the upper Great Lakes region. Here's the heavy rain in central and southern Florida. And as we go through next week, again, we're just going to have a clipper system track across southern Canada under the United States. You could get an inch here, an inch there of snow and or rain, and then you can see as we go into later next week, around Friday, February 28th, maybe a stronger clipper coming in across Manitoba, into Ontario, northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan. That could give us a little bit more snow than the first couple that come through earlier on in the week. So looking at the moisture, again, if you're downwind of that ridge, like we mentioned, across portions of the deep south, the Gulf Coast, and the southeast, not going to see much, if any, precipitation going into the last week of the month. Certainly not seeing any in the desert southwest, with the apex of that ridge right over your area. And then you can see there's the active pattern up and over top of that ridge, and then you can see across portions of the east, we're going to see more rainfall. South Florida going to get a couple inches of rain as well. And then here's the snowfall, okay? We're going to see more snow in the Cascades, the Pacific Northwest. British Columbia going to see a lot of snowfall as well. And then here comes the Great Lakes. We got that Clipper system track, a few inches of snow. And yes, we mentioned Canada. Let's look at British Columbia, Yukon, and coastal Alaska as well. Very heavy snows as those systems come up and over top of that ridge and then drop southeast toward the Great Lakes. That is a classic Clipper system track we will see into next week. Now let's talk a little bit about early March. We're going to be seeing some colder temperatures still favored in the east. Now, this isn't going to be Arctic cold like we just got rid of, okay? But we're still going to see colder than normal temperatures. And yes, you can still see snow in the 30s. It's not like it can't snow at 35 degrees. I've seen it many times myself. I live in northern Illinois. So this is the first 7 days of March. Notice we have a tendency to be warmer than normal with that ridge really coming back for Alaska and the Northwest Territories, Yukon, British Columbia here. So we're going to have a big pattern reversal as we go into the first week of March, and that will trap some cooler air across the central and eastern U.S. and at times the west as well. Looking at the pattern here, I know it's hard to see, but you can see there's a little bit of green on here, or a lot of bit of green. If you look at the map, I mean, most of North America very active into the first 7 days of March, and that will bring some bigger storm system potential to the lower 48 and southern Canada. Here's the European model on March 1st. This is next Saturday. Week from now, we have a Clipper system that's moving through from that Friday into Saturday system across the southeast, Canada, bringing some heavier snows. Then as we go into the following week there, Monday the 3rd of March, Tuesday the 4th, we got a bigger system coming in across the Rockies. That will bring some heavy snow potentially to the plains. That will be more north, right? So the northern plains, the central plains, maybe an ice storm in between under that low track, and then heavy rain. And yes, we are in early March now, and climatology suggests severe weather potential will need to be watched. The European model brings the potential for that to the deep south as we go into late the first week of March. What about the GFS? Yes, has that Clipper system still there for the following weekend there, and then here comes that low pressure system, and it has a little bit different of a look, more of a negatively tilted trough. So this could be more apt to producing severe weather and a deformation snow band on the backside that could produce several inches of snow. So something to keep an eye on. My advice to you, if you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Kansas City, Detroit, really all across the Midwest, Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, or interior sections of the Northeast, don't put away your snow boots. Don't put away your shovels just yet. I think the winter is going to have its last gasp as we go into March there. And looking even at the GFS ensemble guidance, and you can see as we go into that time frame, we have a lot of blue on the screen here, and that does have a tendency to produce snow. The blue is the snow, the pink is the freezing rain, and the green, especially darker green, is the heavy rain and severe weather potential. Now looking at that for the first 7 days of March, heavy rain, severe weather potential here, especially highlighted in these yellow shaded colors from Dixie Alley up there toward the southeast and the mid-Atlantic. Be watching out for bouts of heavy rain and some severe weather potential the first week of March, especially late in the first week of March. Further to the north, we got cold enough air. Now it's not like it's going to be negative 20 degrees and snowing, but it's going to be cold enough to snow. You can still get snow in the 30s. Okay, so even if it's at 32, 33 degrees, we can still see snow up here into the upper Midwest, more of the 10 to 1, maybe 12 to 1 ratio snows up here and into the Great Lakes. Big signal for snow into the Northeast from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York. Where have we seen that before, right? We've seen that all winter, and we're going to see that continue into early March, as well as Ontario and Quebec. And our friends out west in the mountain ranges out here, the Cascades, the Sierras, and the Rockies, especially northern and central Rockies, will continue to see snow chances into that first week of March. That's on the GFS ensemble. You look over at the European ensemble, it's pretty much the same thing, maybe just a tick further to the north. So To take away from the forecast here, a warming trend through this weekend, but a big warming trend into next week. If you're tired of the cold weather, next week is for you. We're going to see a drier trend across the deep south with a drying trend further to the east toward the southeast coast, and then wetter trends with some rain and or snow with a clipper system track from southern Canada into the Great Lakes and the Northeast, bringing some rain and or snow accumulations. And then into early March, don't put your snow boots or shovels away yet. We are going to definitely see some potential, at least, for some winter storms across the upper Midwest, the Northern Plains, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. And yes, our friends in Southeast Canada and Ontario and Quebec will likely see that as well. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're less than 500 subscribers away from 129,000. You want to help me get there, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Like the video, especially if you did like it and you find it very informative. Share this video as well with family, friends, and everybody on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe rest of their Saturday out there.